Welcome, everyone. How wonderful to be together today in one mountain, many paths. Our mission is what Barbara Marx Hubbard and Dr. Mark Goffney call the planetary awakening in love through unique self symphonies. We are activating a new humanity and awakening as a new species, Homo Amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapiens. We are a church, a synagogue, a zendo, a temple, a mosque. No one is excluded, everyone is included, and we come together to attune to the evolutionary impulse awakening within us. Welcome home, everyone. I am Christina Tehel, the co-executive producer, along with Krista Josepha, Jamie Long, and Jacqueline Clark, and we are so delighted to be here together with each and every one of you for our 271st live community broadcast. What a privilege it is to be part of a global community where we support each other to contribute to humanity's flourishing. Teachings from One Mountain, Many Paths are in books by Dr. Mark Goffney and Barbara Marx Hubbard and others. And on our website resource page, www.onemountainmanypaths.org, you will find these books like Your Unique Self, The Radical Path to Personal Enlightenment by Dr. Mark Goffney. And as Andrew Harvey wrote about the book, Your Unique Self is one of the most brilliant, provocative, and original books of the centuries, in which Dr. Goffney fuses together the deepest insights of the Eastern and Western mystery traditions to provide an evolutionary map for the great birth that is arising in and through our contemporary world crises. Also, our live One Mountain broadcast is a key place where new teachings, new leading edge Dharma, and new dimensions of the new story emerge for the very first time. Join Jamie Long, David Cesarci, and I for our 11th hour study course about the most pressing issues of our time and our responsibility. We have come to the edge of the human story that's gone on throughout history, and we've come to the place where that story can self-terminate, the 11th hour, the final chapter of the story. We do not want the story to end. This course begins on Saturday, January 15th, and you can join us by reaching out to Jamie Long, whose email is now in the chat box. Receive ever deeper mystical gifts by stepping intimately into the work and practice of creating the great Homo Amor library, memory of the future. Reach out to me for the holy opportunities. And my email is now in the chat box as well. And a little taste of that work. On Wednesday, we had another one of our bi-monthly Great Library meetings. And you can imagine me and Timothy Paul and Ken and Shante and Benjamin all working together to support and facilitate our relationships, as well as our blossoming of this Renaissance project, the Great Library. So do step in and participate in this holy emergence. It is truly an eternal joy. Use the Zoom and Facebook chat functions to say hello, to let us know where you're from, to express your prayers, and to resonate the Dharma. On Zoom, check that your chat settings say everyone so that we can all hear from you. Sign up for and read our weekly emails. There you find our replays, our community activities, feature videos, volunteer opportunities, celebrations, and surprise and inspiration. Now, what to expect for today. First, a Dharma recap from myself from last week's broadcast. Then Dr. Goffney sets our intention. David resonates our evolutionary love code. Krista invites us into community. And then we move into our evolutionary sermon with Dr. Goffney. To close, we bring everyone on for intimate dance practice and our goodbyes. On December 22nd, it is Barbara Marx Hubbard's birthday. And during our gathering today, we have a surprise celebration of Barbara. Mark writes evolutionary love codes. Mark and Barbara studied the codes together, comparing the codes with Barbara's own 52 codes for conscious self-evolution. These codes crystallize the new story of humanity, quote, evolving the course of consciousness and culture, which is the source code of love, unquote. We have the privilege to be part of the emergence of these first principles and first values. The Dharma gates are open. Every week we are blessed. To serve each other and the evolution of love, our commitment is to the quality of what we are communicating, and for each of us to take part in this creative process of articulating a new story for a new humanity. So we consciously decide we won't forcefully try to end at exactly a certain time, but promise fullness and explosion, to let magic evolve, to serve the evolutionary process. And we will do our best to end around 11 a.m. Pacific time. Of course, if you need to leave early, please do so. And we look forward to being with you next week. I welcome all who are new. We need you. Know that each week is a standalone and every week builds on the weeks before. One Mountain, Many Paths is radically committed to telling the new universe story. Now for our recap from last week. Holding the paradox of victimhood and responsibility, the emergence of Homo Amor. In both our personal and our collective lives, we desire to move beyond the binary split between victimhood and responsibility, and to open up a new developmental, mystical space. This is the space of Homo Amor, who is both fully responsible and fully powerful, and at the same time, fully surrendered and in full devotion. We seek to take responsibility for the whole. We realize a manifestation of our global intimacy disorder is the embrace of victimhood and the avoidance of responsibility. We seek to solve global problems from a total communal we space. It's us, we the environment, we the context, and we the story. We seek to go the whole way in this lifetime, to give everything that is our unique expression the whole way. We are here to express, to leave nothing out. Responsibility is a structure of interpretation in which we declare we are fully the cause of what happens in our life, including actions, thoughts, feelings, and resulting events. Responsibility is an invitation to choose a perspective as if it were true. And to choose this perspective ups our life game and puts us in the driver's seat, supporting our inherent commitment to have it matter that we lived. When we feel victimized, we look within. We all have been victimized. For example, loneliness. We feel loneliness. We do not look away because we need to look inside. Inside, sometimes we can find where the oneness is, where the connectivity is, where we are part of the source of creation and everybody in it. And in ourselves, we overcome that pain. Every single place where we may feel a victim is actually a space to discover wholeness. Do we have full responsibility for everything? Does the interpretive lens of full responsibility work for all situations? Is there another world besides, or word besides victimhood to acknowledge the limits of our responsibility? What about Holocaust victims, rape victims? What about shaming the victim? To not take less or more responsibility is the key to the evolution of love. If we take more responsibility, we have to react. If we take less responsibility, we can't go within and see what actually does need to be healed. We all want love. We know that. We speak to inherent goodness, inherent responsibility, and inherent unique self. We enter into the struggle to have these distinctions clear, right, powerful, and serving the evolution of the source code. The conscious choosing of responsibility liberates and evolves the inherent, holds both individualistic and communal possibilities. Our evolutionary mindset, our every act of authentic goodness and love moves the universe. Our becoming, evolving to Homo Amor, is everyone's becoming and evolving to Homo Amor. Homo Amor has a memory of the future self, knows what we are becoming, and knows the potentiality in us that has not yet been fulfilled. Now I invite us to more deeply enter into the holy and sacred space of One Mountain, Many Paths, and I turn my word to you, Dr. Mark Goffney.
Thank you so much, Christina Amlon. What a beautiful Dharma recapitulation. I was so excited to read it last night, right? Fantastic and gorgeous. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. And I want to just honor this moment of just beauty as we celebrate Barbara's birthday. It's just completely gorgeous, right? Barbara Marx Hubbard. And I at about 7 a.m. this morning, and I had a deep conversation with Barbara. And we try and talk as often as we can. And I ask her often to visit me, right? To find me. And Barbara Marx Hubbard is a great woman. She was, for the last 5 years of her life, we were very, very deep what we called wholemates. And in fact, there's a book that we completed, which will be coming out, I hope, in the next year, From Roommate to Soulmate to Wholemate. And wholemate's about joining genius to create. It's not about joining genes, as Barbara loved to say. It's about joining genius to co-create for the sake of the whole. And so today, we're in a celebration of wholemating. We're in a celebration of Barbara Marx Hubbard, because your birthday is the day when Goddess decided she couldn't do it without you. Now, Barbara and I talked all the time about the continuity of consciousness. Continuity of consciousness means that it's not over when it's over. That death is a night between 2 days. That there's a larger frame, there's a larger tapestry. That actually one life, the space of one life, is a stage on the journey where we're giving our unique gift and living into unique self. We're actually transforming from Homo sapien, becoming the new human and the new humanity, to become Homo Amor, which is the great demand and moral imperative of this moment in history. To actually go all the way in this lifetime. Barbara's phrase, let's go all the way in this lifetime. Let's stand at this juncture between utopia and dystopia, realizing that only a new story can allow us to bypass dystopia and move to utopia. Only a new story of value, a new story of meaning, embedded in first principles and first values, has the ability in this time between worlds and time between stories to actually change the trajectory of humanity. And so we found it together in One Mountain, Many Paths in order to be the place where we would incubate, we would work out the chapters, the plots, the subplots of the great story of humanity. And we're here together every week as revolutionaries, integrating, studying, laughing, crying, but always involved in the evolution of love, which is the articulation in this generation of the new universe story, and the new story of identity, and the new story of power, and the new story of sexuality. It's the story of what we call the fourth Big Bang. The first Big Bang, matter. The second Big Bang, life. The third Big Bang, the depth of the human self-reflective mind. But matter triumphs in life. Life triumphs in the human self-reflective mind. What happens then? What happens then is we go through the stages of humanity until we hit a particular point, a point in which we've developed so gorgeously, and at the same time, we've also developed the capacity to self-terminate. In certain ways, in certain vectors, we've unfolded so beautifully. Technologically, we've filled the earth with human life. We've gone from 500 million to 7.7 billion people. We've evolved love in so many ways. Universal human rights is at least a dream that we understand in the world today in a way we couldn't even begin to dream of it 1,000 years ago. So much has happened, and yet we've also developed the capacities to self-terminate. And at this moment, this precise pivoting point, as Rilke said, this precise inflection point in human history, all hangs in the balance. And at that moment, what's going to take us the next step, what's going to allow us in this 11th hour of humanity to transform fate into destiny, is literally to do as Da Vinci did in that time between stories, which was the Renaissance, to literally tell the new story. And telling the new story was where Barbara and my hearts met, because we had both been passionately dedicated to telling that new story. And then we realized, right, Barbara? It's so good to be celebrating your birthday, love. We realized that we each had different pieces of the new story, and that we needed to actually come together to join genius, not genes, to join genius to co-create as wholemates, to create a larger whole for the sake of the whole. And that birthed, because whenever we join genius to co-create, there's a birth. And that birthed One Mountain, Many Paths. And it birthed a series of wonderful books that are going to be published over the next months and years, right? Actually, 8 or 9 books. Barbara and I had completed the core work on outlining them, and I'm now completing them. So we're going to be putting this, right, this huge, gorgeous next step vision Homo Amor library into the world. And Barbara, you know, we committed to each other to go the whole way in this lifetime. And we said the lifetime doesn't end when one of us leaves, right? We're together, and we're all together with each other. And what I want, what Barbara wanted, what you want, what we want, is that we all actually meet as outrageous lovers, that we join genius to co-create, right? That actually Barbara lives with us and we live with Barbara and we live with each other. And we look in each other's eyes and we say, oh my God, I love you madly. And I'm willing to love you madly. Rumi said, the only sanity is to love madly. He didn't say it exactly that way. I helped him. But it's true. The only sanity is to love madly. We love each other madly. And out of that love, we create a new quality of evolutionary intimacy in which we actually create the next step. We birth the next step. We birth the new humanity. That's what we're here to do. Is that audacious? It's insanely audacious. It's insanely audacious. Is it the most humble thing we can do? Of course it is. It's humble. It's filled with humility because we realize it's not us doing it. We realize she's moving through us. And so it's so good to be with you all. I'm personally, if I can just check in for a second, got a little bit chills. I'm doing like a long COVID. I was kind of much better yesterday, not so great today, but I didn't want to miss you, right? A second week in a row. So I'm madly delighted to be here, and hopefully I'll test negative soon, which would be completely awesome. And holding all the people with COVID in all of its ways in the world, and madly delighted to be with you in this intention setting. So let's just take a moment and just breathe each other in. Let's breathe you in, Barbara, and you breathe us in from whatever dimension you're in this moment. And let's actually just see a clip. Let's actually see a little beautiful movie, right? To just kind of feel Barbara, right, in our space with us. Barbara, happy birthday, love. Welcome everyone to One Mountain, Many Paths, the seat of the revolution. Revolutionaries together. Take us inside.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the red garden, sprung in completeness where his feet passed. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world.
Right, thank you, and thank you, Lisa, right, who actually made that, right? It's a very simple program and created this kind of great beauty. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara, right? Oh my God. So let's find each other for a second in the chat box, and let's just give Barbara energy on her birthday, okay? And just everyone just write one word in one way in which Barbara inspired you, right? Just like a word, right? 2 words. And let her impact you now. Now, stay close for a second. There's a very deep tradition in the interior sciences that when you let someone who's passed from this world, when they impact you, then they have dynamic presence in the world again. When they have dynamic presence, that gives them power, and that power takes them to the next step of their journey. See, once a person passes, right, so they don't have the possibility of transformation and impact. But when we open up and let someone impact us, right, then we're actually pouring energy into them in the next step of their journey. So let's pour energy into Barbara. Right, and I'm going to take a look in the chat box. Let's take a look together. Okay, oh my God, right? Metamorphosis, visionary, courageous risk, right? Becoming newer, Barbara said, I become newer every day. Your passion was contagious. Wise, powerful woman. It is possible. Truth. Rhoda, it's so good to see you, love. Rhoda, oh my God. Rhoda, right? Inika, right? Benjamin, radical wonder. Personal growth is evolution, right? Oh my God, right? Bravery, passionate grace, an inspiration to stay alive, to awaken feminine insight, right? Powerful connection, futurist, right? Joining genius, right? Greater works than I, ye shall do in the fullness of time, right? Love, relentless enthusiasm, visionary evolutionary light sender, audaciously exuberant conscious evolution illuminating, right? Oh my God, right? Oh my God, right? Can you feel that? So let's just feel that for a second. And Barbara, we're pouring energy into you, right? And we're holding us. We're holding each other, and you're pouring energy into us. And I wanna say something just like so deep, friends, and just hold this together. And it's so good to see you, Rhoda. But I remember sitting with you in the hospital. Right? It's so good to see you, and so much mad blessing to you. Okay? So let's find this, friends. There's a beautiful passage in Sartre, in his autobiography, Words, where he talks about a man named Monsieur Simenon, and I'm sure Claire could say Monsieur better than I can, right, in the French. And there's a moment in which she says, right, in which Sartre says, he says, Monsieur Simenon, who was always here, was absent today. And in his absence, I could feel him in a new way. And it's very, very deep. There's a notion that I would call presence in absence. There's something that happens when Barbara passes, when a person passes, that they don't actually become absent. Let's gather together. Let's gather our energy, friends. Let's gather together. Let's put our hearts in the center. One heart, one breath, one love at this moment, completely focused, full attention on blowing this open and actually feeling this and transforming something. So there's a way in which a person becomes absent that they actually become present. Presence in absence. And that death, which means that a person's absent in this world in the obvious ways, actually makes them present in a new way. There's a way in which we can feel you, Barbara, right, in ways that we couldn't even do when you were alive. You know, Barbara and I spoke or communicated, I would say without hyperbole, for the last 5-6 years of her life, several times a day. Not once a day. We didn't talk every day. We communicated several times a day. Sometimes by text, sometimes by email, right? Sometimes by phone. But we were in a kind of constant communication and a constant partnership, right? And a constant whole-mating. And we walked through darkness, and we walked through pain, and we walked through ecstatic urgency, and we walked through joy, and we walked through laughter, and we walked through tears. And we saw each other, right? Meaning the seeing of the eye of the heart, and in all possible situations, situations of heartbreak and situations of heart opening and situations of exaltation and situations of despair, right? And situations of right, of just incredible, incredible tears, right, and unimaginable joy at possibility, right? And here's the thing. Here's the thing. What I would give now to see Barbara's text on my phone, right? What I would give now for us to spend an hour talking again, right? What I would give now to ask forgiveness for the things I got wrong, for the ways that I wasn't able to show up, right? And even if I'd have to make the same decisions again because there were ways I could show up and ways I couldn't, right? But I can feel differently now. The depth, right? The depth of it all. It's available to me in this place in which, Barbara, you're ostensibly absent, but you're now more present than you ever were. And I can feel you as the 18-year-old girl that you described to me so many times, growing up in your father's house in Scarsdale. And I can feel you in Europe in the Paris cafes, right? And I can feel you, right, as a housewife in Connecticut, right? And I can, with the 5 kids, and I can feel you moving to Washington with John Whiteside. And I can feel you with your first husband, the painter Evolutionary Earl. And I can feel you with Sidney, right, your second husband. And I can feel you with Jonas Salk. And you and Jonas, right, who invented the polio vaccine, loved each other so much and weren't quite destined to be. And I can feel you in our spaces of homemating. And oh my God, what I would give in this moment to have an hour with you again, right, to see each other, right, and to have you whisper in my ear your gorgeous and stunning and radical, full optimism. And I want to go one more step, because on a person's birthday, we celebrate them. Yesterday was Krista's birthday. It's a huge celebration of Krista, right? Huge, right? Emails all day celebrating Krista. We're celebrating Krista, right, with Barbara on this birthday, right? And Ken's birthday was last week. So I want to just celebrate, right, Barbara today, right? And I want to share with you something so deep, right? You know, people thought that Barbara was just kind of relentless enthusiasm, right? Because that was just her nature. And it's not true, right? Barbara's nature was ecstatic and also filled with emptiness, filled with a kind of relentless pain, filled with a sense of not having been embraced by her mother, and not having been embraced by her father, right? And wanting the blessing of the father and the blessing of the mother, right? And a feeling in her of what she called galloping horses, right? Seeking, right, a kind of fulfillment that always eluded her. And stay close, friends. Stay close, right? Come in with me, okay? Can we find each other? And I want to share this with you, because this is the greatest, you know, eulogy birthday and gift I could give to Barbara, and we could give to Barbara, who's with us literally and holds one mountain with us every week. Barbara would literally every single day hit that point of pain. And especially in the last 5-6 years of her life, where she would always say to me, right, I'm the only one who's still here, right? Everyone's left. I remember I was talking to Werner Erhard, right, who founded Est in the Forum, and Werner stepped in as a kind of big brother to me about 2015, and we had some very, very deep connections. And Werner said to me, wow, I understand you and Barbara are working together. I can't believe she's still around, right? She was one of the really good ones, right? And Barbara said to me, like, everyone's gone. And she moved to Berkeley to try and find some energy there, but it didn't quite happen. She moved to Sunrise Ranch, and she was deeply lonely, right, and deeply pained, right? And she would go in every single day, and she would get underneath. She would say, I'm not a victim. I'm not controlled by circumstance, right? I'm actually responsible. I have the capacity to respond to this moment. And she would get beneath her personality, That's what Barbara and I talked about. Barbara and I did Holy of Holies every week. We'd go beneath the personality and we would find that still point of joy and that ecstatic urgency of evolutionary becoming. And we'd find it in chant and we'd find it in laughter. And we would literally every single day, we'd get underneath the pain of victimhood that sometimes I felt and sometimes she felt. And we would claim the power of radical responsibility. And in that, we would choose joy. We chose joy together every day. So I want to just invite that for myself. I want to invite it for you. Let's choose joy together with Barbara. And let's choose the joy of radical responsibility, that we take responsibility for the whole, that we're here in one mountain, many paths, and we are taking responsibility for the whole thing, right? And we are choosing joy, the joy of the evolutionary impulse awake and alive in us in unimaginable ways, right? And we're holding hands, and no one's alone. And yes, it's true that sometimes we live lives of quiet desperation, but we never live lives of lonely desperation because we're always together, we're always holding hands, right? We are a band of outrageous lovers. One of the things Barbara got so excited about and that caused her to join was she read a first draft of a book that we haven't published yet, that KK and I wrote on outrageous love. And she got this idea that, oh, the evolutionary impulse is actually animated by eros. It's animated by outrageous love. And I shared with her the practice of writing outrageous love letters. And so then Barbara and I wrote outrageous love letters for day after day, hundreds of letters. I have all of her letters. At some point we'll share them and publish them. It was gorgeous. Every day, outrageous love letters, right? We choose, right, to access, right, the unique point of outrageous love that lives in us, as us, and through us, and to show up and respond to reality by committing our outrageous acts of love. I'm like, oh my God, right? Like, wow, right? And we're madly committed together. So from that place, let's step in, right, to this week's code. Right, David's going to resonate the code. I'm going to talk about one piece of the code. Then we're going to do an evolutionary chakra meditation with Barbara. And we're going to close with prayer. So David, oh my God, David, resonate the code, brother. Take us inside.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, good morning, everyone. It's so good to be here, and it's my privilege and honor to have taken Barbara's responsibility and role of resonating the code here, which crystallizes the teaching for today. So in honor of her, I'll just invite us all to do what she always did, is place your attention on the core of the spiral of evolution and find the impulse to evolve within you as I resonate this code. This week's code: a manifestation of the global intimacy disorder is the embrace of victimhood and the avoidance of responsibility. Love and responsibility evolve in tandem at every new stage of consciousness. We participate in the evolution of love even as we participate in the evolution of responsibility. Love and responsibility are first principles and first values of the cosmos. And there is no split between joy and responsibility. We are not naturally good. We are inherently good. Goodness must be trained. Training goodness is ecstatic joy. Victimhood is natural. Victimhood tends to be our default mode. Responsibility is not natural. Responsibility is inherent. Responsibility must be trained, and training responsibility is ecstatic joy. Responsibility means that I have the capacity to respond in my reality and to turn fate into destiny. To turn fate into destiny may impact what happens in reality in its exteriors, and it may not. Turning fate into destiny changes my experience of reality. Turning fate into destiny transforms my own interiors. In the deeper view, interiors drive reality. In the deeper view, interiors always transform exteriors. Responsibility does not necessarily mean that I am the cause of my reality. To believe that I am the sole cause of my reality is often a disguised form of narcissism. To believe that I am the sole cause of my reality embraces the first principle and first value of autonomy, but denies the first principle and first value of communion. To believe that I am the sole cause of my reality is not eros, but pseudo-eros. Responsibility is not generic, it is unique. I am responsible for playing my unique instrument in the unique self symphony. There are no pure victims in the unique self symphony. Responsibility is not some external thing that you either take or don't take. Responsibility is a perspective. It is a lens through which and within which reality occurs. And with that, I turn my word back to you, beloved Dr. Mark.
Oh my God, David. And let's see that code. Let's see that code in the chat box. That's a big code, right? And we've been talking about this victim responsibility topic, right, for 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to talk about it somewhat this week. We're going to talk about it big time next week. And we're going to take this home. And I've been working with Terry Nelson, my dear, right, friend. And we're going to take this home to the next level, but stay close for a second, okay? So, three things. To be responsible means to have the capacity to respond. And we're going to go 3 steps here. We're going to talk a little bit about victim and responsible. We're going to add a couple of key distinctions. Chris is going to welcome us in, and then we're going to turn to Barbara, okay? And maybe today that we'll do the evolutionary chakra meditation, right, as our prayer for today, as our practice prayer for today. So let's see if we can find this deeply, okay? 2 basic positions in the world. This is powerful. And Barbara, this is for you, love. Okay, we've talked about this so many times. This is for you. 2 basic positions in the world. Position 1, Buddhist position, move beyond your story. The story's in the way. Second position, kind of classical American therapy position, right? Every way that you're somehow distorted and unable to function in life is because of something that happened in your story yesterday. Go back and rework yesterday's story, right, in order to be able to be free today. So Buddhism says, move beyond your story, step into the eternity of the present. Therapy says, no, you're being blocked by something that happened in yesterday's story. Liberate yourself from that pattern in yesterday's story and be free to step into the present. Who's right? The therapeutic man or the Buddhist man, the therapeutic woman, the Buddhist woman? Who's right? They're both right. They're both holding a critical dimension of reality. But what we're saying is that although those 2 are critical, there's a third position. And the third position is when I'm called by the future. The responsible person is called by the future, right? The responsible person says, I'm going to create with my response to the situation a new future. Wow. I don't avoid the present. I don't go back to the past, right? I'm called by the future. And I'm called by the future to be able to, the future incapacitates me to respond. I never lose my capacity to create the reality in this and in the next moment. So responsibility doesn't mean I'm cause for what happened. That's a mistake. It's a huge mistake. Doesn't mean I'm cause. It means that I can respond. Responsibility means my capacity to respond. And as we talked a couple of weeks ago, even if I've suffered the worst misfortune, even if I'm walking to the gas chamber, even if I've been assaulted in the worst way, I've been victimized, I've been betrayed, in which I'm authentically a victim, I don't give up to that victimhood my capacity to respond. And in that sense, I become cause of the next moment. So instead of giving up my power, instead of saying, you control me, You insulted me. Now I'm insulted. You control me. I was victimized. Now you've taken over my life, right? I'm trapped in victimhood, and I spend the rest of my life in the loops of victimhood in which I keep revisiting what happened, right, in that moment and how they did it to me. Now, it could be they did do it to me, and it could be I'm an authentic victim, and we have to honor and embrace with mad compassion every victim. But there's a deeper response than only victimhood. And that deeper response is I choose to be not just an object, but a subject. And as subject, I have the capacity to respond. There's no fate that I can't turn into destiny. And that capacity to respond is hugely powerful. So that's a first distinction. But I want to add to that distinction. That distinction we worked with a couple of weeks ago, and Terry worked with it last week. I want to add to that distinction. So let's take this example that was put into the space, 2-3 weeks ago. So let's say something happens to me, and someone says something to me that makes me feel bad, right? An example that my friend Terry gave. So now I feel bad. And someone says, why do you feel bad? Well, I feel bad because you said something, you insulted me, you made me feel bad. So the responsible position is, I'm being a victim if I feel bad because you made me feel bad. There's an interpretive moment in which I actually give up responsibility. I give my power over to you, and you now have the power over how I feel, right? That's a victim position. The responsible position is, right? No, actually you said something, and I choose how my attention responds to what you said, and I can actually walk through without actually feeling bad. I can actually walk through powerfully and not let you hijack, right, my sense of self, right, and my sense of power. Now, that's a very, very important dimension, and you can't skip that dimension. That's powerful and beautiful. And to be homo amor, right, I need actually to be able to step into my capacity to transform victimhood, to take my power back, right? To not say I'm innocent, you did it to me. The price of innocence is impotence. To claim my potency, to claim my power, right? And to actually claim the memory of the future in the now, and to decide my future based on how I respond to you. So instead of letting what you just did to me, my past, determine my future, I actually become a powerful, responsible agent. I never lose my capacity to respond. That's beautiful. But it's only half the story. It's only half the story. So let me, if I can, just tell you a story, just a little second. So Buddha had 3 groups of students, right? And when Buddha died, right, each one of his groups of students responded differently. So the first group of students, when Buddha died, they cried. Why'd they cry? Because Buddha died. Barbara died, right? So we cry, right? Because we miss her, because she's not with us, because death is so painful, we cry. The second group of students, when Buddha died, they didn't cry because they looked at the broader context. They realized nothing bad's happened here. Buddha has stepped off of the wheel of suffering, right? He has either become a bodhisattva and reincarnated, or he's an Erhart and he's gone on, right, and merged with the ultimate bliss union, right, of the supernal drop, right? And actually, it's only an illusion, right, to cry. Actually, right, we're much more sophisticated, we're much more powerful, right? We don't need to be victimized by death, right? And so they didn't cry. They were like, wow, they were able to move through it. That was his more advanced group of students. That was the second group of students. The third group of students, the most advanced of all Buddha students, right? Buddha died, so they cried. Right? Who gets it? Right? It's very powerful. So someone insulted me. Right? At level 1, I'm a victim. They took my power. They're in charge. Right? I've been hijacked. My attention's been hijacked. Right? So I've got to go to level 2, and I've got to go and I've got to be responsible. And I've got to realize, no, actually, I can hold a wider story here. And I can hold a wider story with great power. and really understand that I'm responsible, that I can respond, I can be called by the future. I can respond to the situation with full power, right? And transform that insult into a wound of love, right? And use it, right, as a catalyst for my deepening and my transformation, and I can choose joy. And that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. That's level 2. But here's level 3. You don't want to become a person, right, who, when someone said something hurtful, you're not hurt. It's actually okay to be hurt. You see that? That's level 3. Right? Level 3 is, wow, someone said something hurtful. I'm hurt. Right? But then at level 3, I don't get lost in the hurt. I'm both a victim and I'm fully responsible at the same time. Did you get that? I realize that I have full autonomy, and in my autonomy, I'm responsible and I'm called by the future and I have the capacity to respond, and I'm in intimate communion with reality, and we all affect each other and we all impact each other in 1,000 ways, and I'm willing to open myself up and be vulnerable and be hurt by what you said, even though I'm not going to get lost in the loop of the hurt. I'm not going to be telling the story of the hurt every day, right, in a way that paralyzes me, right, and that undermines my capacity to be free and to be in joy. But I am going to take the hurt in. I am going to be vulnerable enough to actually let you impact me. Did you get that? That's level 3. Level 1, right? Buddha dies. His students cry. Level 2, more sophisticated students, they don't cry at all. But the deepest students, Buddha died, so they cry, right? So homo amor holds that paradox of level 3. I'm willing to open my heart, and I'm willing to dare to cry. I'm willing to dare to be hurt. I'm willing to dare to let the full pain of reality rip my heart open. And the fact that you don't see me, right? That's painful to me. That hurts me. The fact that you don't understand me, right, makes me feel lonely, right? And I'm going to own that loneliness. I'm going to own that hurt. And at the very same time, I don't give over my power to you. In that very same moment, I choose joy. In that very same moment, I respond. In that very same moment, I transform that hurt. I transmute that hurt into an open heart, right? I blow my heart open through that hurt, and I claim my power again. You know, my teacher, Nachman, wrote, Ein shalem melev shavur. There's nothing as whole as a broken heart, right? So to be responsible is not, I don't let my heart break. It's not, you don't insult me, you do. And if I take you seriously as a human being, I know that you're the whole world, just like I'm the whole world. So I take you super seriously. And I'm willing to open the gates and let you in. Because all the gates, even when all the gates are closed, the gates of tears, say the masters, are still open. And I'm willing to love you enough to shed a tear. But then I take that tear of hurt and I transform it into, right, accessing the deepest part of my open heart, and then my heart blows open and I find deeper than the hurt, I find joy and I find power, right, and I find capacity. So yes, I'm hurt, but I'm not caught in the loop of the hurt. I hold that paradox between radical power, radical autonomy, and radical communion. That's homo amor. Can you feel that, friends? So that's the first distinction. Who's got it? I just want to take a look in the chat box for 1 second. Who's got that distinction? Who's got that? Who's got that? You got that distinction? It's huge. It's a huge distinction. Okay? Huge distinction. I'm going to go second level. I'm going to go just do 2 more distinctions. That's it. Then we're going to turn to Kristen, then to Barbara. Okay? Like, oh my God. Right? Today's like, it's fabulous, right? It's so good to be together. 2 more short distinctions. Short distinctions. Now, distinction 2. So let's say that actually something happened to me. New situation, new victim responsibility paradox. So we're going to introduce a new distinction. Okay? Let's go. Let's go. You ready to go, everybody? Here we go. Let's stay close. New distinction. So something happened where something went wrong. Okay? I feel that a group of other people, right? And Eugenio Rodarte, right? We're in Spanish right now for you. Eugenio just wrote in the chat box, I wish is in Spanish, right? So, oh my God, we're in Spanish together. Okay? Oh my God, here we are. Okay, let's do this. Gracias. Right? It's so good. Thank you for being here. So let's go deep. So let's say something happened. So when something happens, right, do I choose a blame frame, meaning I say you did it to me, and I figure out all the ways in which you did it. Now, how many of us are masters at that? All of us. Whenever something happens to us, we immediately go to explain why we're not responsible and somebody did it to me. Everyone get that? Whenever something happens, our immediate move is blame frame. You did it, 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 you did it. Right? Who knows that? Who knows that happens? Show of hands, right? In the chat box. Who can give us a yes on that? Right? Any honest person in the world, right? Immediately, right? Blame frame. That's the victim frame. Reality did it to me. Now here's the second frame. The second frame is not somebody did it to me, but I realize there's a contribution system. This is gorgeous. There's a contribution system. And in this contribution system, everybody, including me, has a percent. Right? So let's say even that I think that you have 90%. I was betrayed. I was victimized. Right? And that's all true. Right? And that's all true. And if we don't recognize victims, we won't have compassion for victims. We're just going to be cruelly demanding they take responsibility for that which they're not responsible. There are victims in the world, that's real. When we don't recognize victimization, we lose compassion. Right? Conservative ruling parties all over the world are very good at saying that everyone's always responsible and not recognizing victimization. Victimization is real. It's real. But we got to move from a blame frame to a contribution system. So yes, I'm a victim. And I deserve your compassion. And I was betrayed and I was hurt. Right? And we're all betrayed. Right? And we're all betrayers sometimes. And we'd only be betrayed by a person who would never betray us. So it's real. I'm really a victim. But there's also a contribution system. See, even if you did 90% of it, for example, let's say I've got 10%. 10%. In other words, I've always got to be willing to be responsible, meaning to have capacity and power to respond, which means to identify what's my 10% in the contribution system. And then, everyone with us? And then to take 100% responsibility for my 10%. You got it? In other words, to be powerful means I'm going to take 100% responsibility for my 10%. Wow. So instead of focusing on what you did to me, no, I understand. You did something wrong. I got that. You got 90%. But if I'm a powerful being, if I'm Homo Amor says, what's my role in the contribution system? And the more powerful I am, the more precisely I can identify where's my role in the contribution system. And actually a fantastic exercise is to take something that happened where you think that you're 100%, you had no role in the contribution system, and to brilliantly discern where actually could I have contributed and to actually move the action backwards. Maybe I couldn't have done something today, but I could have done something 6 months ago. I could have done something a week ago. Or what could I have done creatively? You got to be massively creative to identify your part in the contribution system and then take 100% responsibility for your 5%. That's powerful. And that's what Barbara and I try to do all the time. You know, we were involved in so many beautiful projects. And there were things that went gorgeously, and then there were things where we suffered together. And we would always say, even when we were clearly the objects of wrongdoing, people had done wrong to us, we'd say, okay, what's our contribution system? What's our part in the contribution system? So to move from a blame frame to a contribution system, does everyone get that? Identify who's got it. Tell me who's got it. Chat box. Who's got it? Who's got this? Okay? Right, this is where you become homeowner. You can't be homeowner without this. Right? I've got what's my 5%? What's my 5%? And then I take 100% responsibility for my 5%. Okay, that's distinction 2. Okay, it's huge. It's gorgeous. Okay, last distinction. We got a drum roll. We got a drum roll in the house. Last distinction. Last 3 minutes. Last distinction. Okay? Now, this is huge. Last distinction. Then we're going to hear from the voice of the gorgeous feminine. Right? So just let's catch this distinction, okay? So, and Terry, brother, this is for you. So there's a quote that Terry shared with us, which is really beautiful. That is, a core part, I believe, also of the kind of, LifeSpring training. And the quote is, and I want to actually see if I can read it to you. The quote comes from Sartre. And Sartre says that to be responsible, I'm reading it, is to be the uncontested author of an event or a thing. Right? Drum roll. This is huge. We got a drum roll here? Drum roll. Right? Sartre says to be responsible is to be the uncontested author of an event or a thing. And Sartre says that's responsibility. So here's the thing. Sartre was wrong. You're never the uncontested author of an event or a thing. And here's what Sartre meant. Sartre says that you have to realize that you're radically free. And he writes this in his book, Being in Nothingness. It's around page 550. It's an incredibly important book. And what Sartre says in Being in Nothingness, wrongly, Sartre says, and I want you to understand where he's coming from, because he's coming from a beautiful place, and there's something that we can take from Sartre responsibly. Okay, but first I want to kind of get this for a second, because this is wildly important. Sartre says he's rebelling against the great traditions. He's rebelling against their visions of spirit. And so what he does is he rejects spirit, and particularly he rejects value altogether. Sartre says Sartre is the apostle of cosmic meaninglessness. There is no ultimate meaning in the cosmos. Doesn't exist. We have, Sartre says, I'll give you an exact quote, we can never get our bearings because we have no bearings. Bearings means you can get your bearings when there's a moral compass in the cosmos. For Sartre, there is no moral compass, and therefore you're free. But for Sartre, to be free means that you're doomed to your freedom. You're doomed to your freedom because there's nothing other than you. There's no other value in cosmos. You don't live in the Tao. There's no Dharma. You don't live in the field of value. There is no field of value. The only thing you have is the construction of self that you do independently. And tragically, by the way, for people who get this, they'll get it. If people don't, you can skip it. If you've been with us for like a year and a half, you'll get it. Shoshana Zuboff, in her book Surveillance Capitalism, in order to object to the techplex's hijacking of self's attention, cites Sartre as her source, meaning Shoshana Zuboff herself refuses to name value, refuses to say that the techplex is violating a first principle of personhood, and therefore her book fails. Because what she says is, oh, the reason what the techplex is doing wrong is because as Sartre says, the construction of self is the single most important thing we can do, and self is created completely autonomously from my inward space of meaning, and that's what it means to be totally free. But if you read Zuboff carefully, the reason she's quoting Sartre is because all through her book, because she's a postmodernist, Steven Pinker is down the hall from her at Harvard, and both Steven and Shoshana refuse to name value as intrinsic. Which means that in their own self-perception, they've stepped out of the Tao. They've stepped out of the field of value. But if you've stepped out of the field of value, then you have nothing which will allow you to challenge the techplex, because the techplex is only wrong if it's violating the intrinsic value of personhood. How many people got that? Anybody get that? So if you didn't get the Zuboff piece, skip that, okay? Skip Zuboff for a second. Come back to Sartre, because Sartre is the key here. What Sartre is saying is when Sartre says you're the uncontested author of a thing, what Sartre is saying is you're the only player. And since you're the only player, right, the entire responsibility is yours. It can't be anyone else's. But Sartre's wrong. He's dead wrong. Right? What's true is there's autonomy. That's you, your responsibility. You are a partial author, but you are never the uncontested author of anything. There's always communion. Communion means you and me. Mark and Terry is communion. But communion is also, let's say Terry and Mark go on a medicine journey together. Okay? And let's say in our psychedelic journey, we access the interior face of cosmos. Let's say I pray and I storm heaven and I feel heaven on earth. Let's say I meditate and I access shunyata. And I actually access through waking up. When I wake up, I access the field of value. I'm no longer asleep. When I'm no longer asleep, when I'm awakened, I realize I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm in a field of value, right? And I'm in a system. That's what systems theory means. Systems theory means, which Sartre didn't get, that I'm never the uncontested author of anything. I'm always a partial author. I might be a 10% author, and I've got to take 100% responsibility for my 10%, but I'm never an uncontested author. Now, why does that matter? This is our third distinction. Why does that matter? Here's why it matters. Last piece. Because if you take too little responsibility, you're a sociopath. Everyone get that? If I take too little responsibility, I'm a sociopath. It's all happening to me. I can't feel, right, myself. I can't feel my responsibility, right? I'm acting in a field of objects. I'm not subject, right? And when I take too little responsibility, right, another word for it is character disorder, right, in formal psychological terms. I have a character disorder, right? Meaning I take it all on myself. I can't actually feel the larger field, right? And now, excuse me, when I don't take responsibility, right, I have a character disorder and I become corrupt, right? It corrupts my very soul. That's what happens when you take too little responsibility, when you always adopt only the victim position. That's absolutely true. But stay close, friends, stay close. But if I take too much responsibility, it doesn't corrupt my soul, it cracks my soul. Did you get that? In other words, responsibility is the Goldilocks principle. Just right. Remember the Goldilocks fairy tale, right? You want your porridge, right? Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Homo amor understands to take responsibility in that position that's just right. Not too little. Too little responsibility corrupts, but too much responsibility cracks. It's a disguised form of narcissism, right? It says I'm the only player in the field, but I'm not the only player in the field. I'm always holding hands with you. I'm always in communion with you, and we're always holding hands with the infinity of intimacy that knows our name, with the field of evolution, with the field of evolutionary love, with the personal face of evolutionary love, the infinity of intimacy, the God force, the divine that never drops us, that every place we fall into her hands. Wow. So this is the paradox, right? The victim responsible dimension, right, can only be held. The victim responsible contradiction has to be transformed into paradox. On the one hand, Sartre's right. I'm all alone. When you see something that needs to be done, become an atheist. There's only you. There's no God. It's yours to do. If we need to develop the Center for Integral Wisdom and create the possibility of evolving the source code, there's no one else to do it. It's mine to do. It's my center. It's not Barbara's center. It's not Mark's center. It's not Krista's. It's not Terry's. It's mine. It's mine to do. I'm going to create it. No one else but me. At the same time, never take a responsibility that is so inappropriate that actually you're the narcissistic single author in the field and you can't partner and you can't be in communion. You're not vulnerable and you're not impacted, but more than that, and you're not held by the divine who's your partner, who's holding your hand. And the reason you know that in the end, truth will triumph. The reason we know in the end, the darkness will be transformed into light. The reason we know that in the end, every child and every woman and every man will ultimately, right, drink from source, and that we're actually going to be able to usher in, right, a utopia. The reason we know we're going to be able to go the whole way in this lifetime is because we're not alone, because we're not in the field by ourselves. We're being held in every second, right? Oh my God, right? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, so it's 2:09. It's 2:09. Thank you for being with us in this depth. And we're going to hear now from Barbara, right, and Krista. Each of them are going to be really short. Okay, and I'm going to ask you to just kind of go all in, right? We're going to go to Krista, right? Krista, we'll go as you suggested, Krista, to Barbara first, and then directly to Krista, and we're going to blow this open together. So friends, forget about schedule, right? Got about 14, 15 minutes left. Right, let's blow this open. Let's take this all the way home. Okay, Barbara Marx Hubbard, happy birthday, love.
I am feeling within myself what it means to be within an evolutionary church. I did not realize until we co-created this that I'd been missing it all my life. Because all my life I have felt this impulse of creative evolution coming through me, but I had no place to give it, to share it, to know it until very recently. And as I began to find others, I was turned on with joy. And I realized that each of us has a tremendous role to play in the evolution of our world. So I'm grateful that we have formed the Evolutionary Church. We are truly pioneering souls. This has not been done before. So today I would like to start out with a meditation of resonance to remember who we are as expressions of the process of creation. I call it the evolutionary chakra meditation. We're going to breathe in deeply the whole story of creation. Place your attention now on source, on the source of evolution, on the mind of God. Breathe in from that source all that was, is now, and will be. From the first 2 seconds of the Big Bang, see now the evolutionary spiral unfolding. Energy, matter, life, the biosphere, single-celled life, animal life, human life, and now us, humans, going around the next turn on the spiral of evolution, facing the destruction of all life on Earth, or the evolution of life to its next stage. So breathe in this multi-billion year story of creation into your lowest chakra. And feel the security coming through your body of that core of the spiral of evolution, carrying the genius of all that came before us into the lowest chakra of your body, and feel secure. Now, returning once again to the mind of God, feel the power of that process of creation entering your regenerative organs. And place that huge impulse of creativity and see yourself shifting from degeneration toward regeneration. From massive procreation toward co-creation. Feel the awakening of the immense power of the generative organs through the impulse of evolution. Now breathe up once again through the mind of God, through the billions of years of evolution, through your impulse of security, through your tremendous powers of regeneration and co-creation. Place that power into your security of your mid-power center. the power of your presence, the power of your greatness, the power of your uniqueness. Breathe the entire impulse into that power center and send it out into the world. Consciously expressing the power of that impulse as you in the world with all your genius coded in it. Radiate that creativity and power. Now, starting once again in the mind of God in one deep breath. Bring that impulse of evolution into your heart. Carrying the frequency and genius of the whole process into your heart of unconditional love. Love of the entire story of creation. Love of all that came before you, and love now of everyone on earth, starting with those you most love. Your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your child, your friend. Your community of influence. Now let that impulse of love just go further. Let it reach out into the global communion of pioneering souls. Everywhere on earth, just like us, awakening to their own inner impulse of creativity. And your touch of love is now touching them in the vast domain of universal intelligence. Now bring that impulse of evolution further up into the heart and feel it as your gift of love, your vocation, your calling, your intention to create. Place that mighty core of the spiral of evolution into your vocation, in your upper heart. Feel your gift of love going out, uniquely you, expressing that which you were given to give, with the joy in the giving of it, to all you love and beyond. Now, going once again up from the mind of God through all the chakras of your being, breathe the impulse into your throat. Let your voice vibrate when you speak with the resonance of creation, the frequency of vibration of the impulse as you. Sound your note when you speak in the evolutionary church with this impulse of power and creativity. Now bring the impulse of evolution all the way up from source, energy, matter, life, animal life, through your own security, generative organs, power, vocation of heart. Bring it up through your throat into your third eye. Activate the supramental genius of the whole process of creation embodied in you. It's true. At the precise moment, contact your expression of the divine process as you at the threshold of your own evolution. At the precise moment when the evolution of the world is shifting from one stage to the next. Place the genius and power of your impulse of creation into the scales of history towards more life, more love, more genius in the great 13.8 billion year tradition of evolution. We could say, hallelujah, evolution. Breathe the impulse all the way up and all the way down. You and we are the whole story of creation coming to you in person. Thank you.
How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your love is just a miracle? And how deeply we are connected in our soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your love is just a miracle? And how deeply we are connected in our soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your love is just a miracle? And how deeply we are connected in our soul. We will invite everyone to show your beautiful face here on the screen as we move into gallery view. You will be invited to be promoted as a panelist, so you can turn on your video if you want. And then I will also put you on gallery view so I can see you too. Yes. And how deeply we are connected in our soul. This week I had the beautiful opportunity to feel that taking responsibility is all about power and leadership and fierceness, and it is also about receiving outrageous love and opening our hearts and to be blown open by each other and to allow ourselves to bathe in this beautiful band of outrageous lovers. And as a band of outrageous lovers, Mark mentioned it in the beginning, one of our core practices is to commit our outrageous acts of love and to write outrageous love letters to each other. So this is the space that I want to invite all of us into, and many of us already are. Then maybe you want to step in even closer and even more. But it is such a beautiful opportunity to be a part of this outrageous love revolution. And to give you a taste of that, just wanted to read you one outrageous love letter that I received this week. It's very short. I know we are over time, but I just wanted to bless you with this beautiful letter. And someone wrote it to me, and the practice of writing outrageous love letters is that we can write it to ourselves, we can write it to each other, we can write it to God or Goddess, and Goddess is writing back to us. And you can also listen to these words in all of those expressions. I am thankful for your presence in my life. When you first arrived, I wanted to be an outrageous lover again. But I felt I couldn't access that outrageous love through all the pain. But I persisted and I placed myself in loving circles. And I was inspired by your beauty, your tenderness, your authentic loving. So keep on being you. And you never know who you secretly are helping. So this is my invitation to all of us. Keep on being you, and you never know who you are secretly helping. And this is the beautiful space that I want all of us. We are inviting each other to step into deeper. And you can do that by stepping into one of our unique self symphonies. There are many, many beautiful co-creations happening, beautiful teams around certain projects happening. And that is a way that we're building something, we're creating something, we are contributing to the world, but we're also madly loving each other. So you are welcome to join us there. And I'll put my email in the chat box. And if you want to just meet together and hang out, I would love to get to know you and see where you can step in. And of course, we are all invited to become a member of this beautiful, beautiful community. And as a member, you get to be part of an amazing writing group that Christina Sahel leads every Monday, which is a beautiful place to meet other people and to practice the Dharma. And we are also starting the 11th hour study group in January. So you are so welcome to do that. And if you want to become a member, then you can go to onemountainmanypaths.org.